Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to the Midday News. The news is live on Joy 99.7 FM, hits 103.9 FM in Accra. We're also live on Love 99.5 in Kumasi, on myjoyonline.com. We're live in all 16 regions of Ghana via our various affiliates on X Spaces and Facebook. This Midday News is supported by Petrosol Platinum Energy, energizing dreams. Coming up, as investigations continue into the military helicopter crash that claimed the lives of Defense Minister Dr. Edward Omane Boamah and 7 others, Joy News research indicates the aircraft was at least 4 minutes from its landing point when it crashed. We have details of that coming up also this afternoon. Vice President of Imani Africa slams what he calls complete breakdown in search and rescue after the deadly crash. Meanwhile, the Ashanti Regional Secretary or Security Council is stepping up efforts to recover parts of the wreckage believed to have been taken by unknown individuals. Also coming up, we'll hear from Interior Minister Haji Montaka Mubarak, who's been sharing details of the investigations.
The Armed Forces Council, which I'm a member together with Dr. Omane and Dr. Omane, met on Friday and we have set the ball rolling. All we will ask of Ghanaians is to be patient.
In sports,
Ghana's 100-meter record holder Abdulrasheed Saminu is up against the world's fastest man ahead of the World Championships.
Also this afternoon, Volta River Aviation helicopter makes emergency landing at Nkoko this morning. We'll bring you details of that shortly. These and more with me, Maame, Nyamekye, Thompson. This is Joy News, independent, fearless and credible. Please stay. This afternoon, Joy News Independent checks into the military helicopter crash that claimed the lives of Defense Minister Dr. Edward Omane Boamah, Environment Minister Alhaji Murtala Mohammed, and 6 others have revealed the aircraft was just minutes away from its destination before the tragedy struck. Our research indicates the helicopter crashed into a tree atop a mountain in the Dampia Forest Reserve, at least 4 minutes from its landing point in Obuasi. And joining me in the studio is our lead data and research analyst, Isaac Kofieje, with exact coordinates and visualizations from the crash site. Kofi, what are we learning?
Well, Maame, based on our analysis, depending on available official data, plus the exact coordinate points of the crash point, it indicates that the pilot had completed approximately 93% of the journey before the crash occurred. The helicopter was at least 4 minutes away from reaching Obuasi at the time of the incident. The pilot had roughly 13 kilometers left to cover before the crash. And in real life terms, that's about the same distance traveling from the Jubilee House to Medina. We also understand that the pilot or the plane was trying to get over a mountain as tall as about 1,000 feet. That's approximately 125. Football. The football pole. 125 of it. That was as high as that was the height of the mountain that the pilot was trying to go over before the crash.
Well, were there possible safe landing spots in the case of emergency, from what you're learning?
Well, Maame, using Google Earth Pro and the exact crash site coordinates, our visualization indicate that there were at least 3 potential emergency landing areas before the crash point. And the key word here is before the crash point. These include Sikaman, which was approximately 2.6 kilometers away from the crash point, Adorso, 4.8 kilometers away, and Duapompo, 5.7 kilometers away. So at least there were 3 safe landing points before the crash point.
Wow. Okay, so what do we also find out about the Galamsey?
In fact, our mapping also identified several clusters of Galamsey sites, few meters or few kilometers away from the crash location, especially Kwesi and Kromakrom, sited about 3.8 kilometers from the crash site, which is heavily surrounded by Galamsey activities. Around that same time, we were able to estimate about 228 acres of land, which is about 129 football fields, heavily degraded due to Galamsey activities, Maame.
Well, thank you very much, Isaac Ofieje, lead data and research analyst with Joy News, giving us some information on the helicopter crash. Meanwhile, policy analyst and vice president of Imani Africa, Bright Simmons, is raising serious concerns about Ghana's search and rescue preparedness and policy gaps in the wake of the fatal crash of the Ghana Air Force helicopter. In a detailed analysis posted on X, Mr. Simmons points to a complete breakdown of Ghana's search and rescue protocol following the Z9 helicopter crash. According to him, the elaborate framework outlined in Ghana's own manual, which should have triggered a coordinated multi-agency response, simply failed to function when it mattered most. And Dr. Bryce Simmons joins us via Zoom for more on this. We're grateful for your time, Dr. Simmons. You've described Ghana's search and rescue response to this crash as a complete breakdown. But can you walk us through exactly what should have happened under this particular manual and what actually happened?
Yes, thank you very much. It's Mr. Simmons. And what I was trying to do was to outline the search and rescue architecture in Ghana and whether or not this search and rescue architecture came to life. So what I first did was to look at the manuals, the search and rescue manuals, typically prepared under the aegis of the Ghana Civil Aviation Authority. And that is, pretty straightforward. An aircraft such as the GHF 631, the helicopter that crashed in Adanse, will have an emergency beacon, particularly for military crafts. This is to aid search and rescue. And there are two main types, or maybe I'll say three main types. There are those that will trigger underwater, and that is often embedded within the flight data recorder itself. So this is a different case because this was a crash on land. So we are looking more at either the emergency location transmitter or in some instances we call a personal locator beacon. But whatever be the specifics, there will normally be some device in the aircraft, in this case the helicopter, that will activate on crash. And that will send a signal on a dedicated frequency to a satellite network, a global satellite network. And that global satellite network will relay through mission control centers, and in Ghana, we have a rescue coordination center in Accra, under the aegis also of the Ghana Civil Aviation Authority. So when they get this signal, they're supposed to notify all the contacts, key contacts in different institutions, so that you can do a response. In the specific case of a military aircraft, if the ELT, and that's where the issues arrive, if our ELT protocol is not working, either because that device is not in the plane, or there was some kind of fault in relaying that message to the satellite, or whatever be the situation, a military aircraft would typically also have a PLB, which is a more local signaling device. Now, here is the issue. You remember that we have two main information in the public domain, two main categories of information in the public domain that is really critical. One is that we lost radar contact very early on when the aircraft left the base, heading towards the destination. And the second is that for many, many hours, there were no official respondents. These are matters that are in the public domain and have been well covered by the media. Mm-hmm. Now, once the radar contact was lost, the traditional protocol is that you have flight following and tracking. Somebody attempts to find the missing aircraft because the aircraft is not on the radar. And then in this case also, it hadn't arrived at its destination. So in those circumstances, this is where the beacon and the fact that you have last known point for loss of contact, as well as the flight trajectory, etc., means you activate a flight following protocol. Some other aircraft goes looking for this, and that is when then the beacon, the personal locator beacon, will scan for the frequency for the signal. You see what I mean? Yes. So all of this is dedicated in both the national manual as well as in terms of the protocol in the Air Force itself. So the question then was, when this incident happened, once we lost track of the aircraft on radar, once it became clear that it hadn't arrived at its destination, how was the flight following activated? And if the flight following was activated, how come they could not scan for the aircraft and then send first responders to the location?
Right.
So you have multiple failings on multiple grounds, is what I'm trying to say.
Mr. Simmons, so I want to find out from you, have you personally checked whether these systems were deployed and failed to work, or they weren't deployed at all?
So I've tried to get conclusive information from our sources, and the information that is being produced currently is not coherent. So it's very clear to me, because obviously we have to, compare that to what we all saw on TV, on social media, etc. And it's very clear that even if these systems existed, they were not activated. Because we know for sure, for instance, that the Ghana Air Force could not secure the site. We know, for instance, that other services in the military could not coordinate with the Ghana Air Force to contain the site. We know, for instance, that first responders arrive much later than the 1 hour response time that we have in the manual. So there are several elements of this. The second thing that is obviously very important is that the way that our Air Force bases are distributed, we've always known in the country that we have a missing gap in the center of the country. So even if we had activated, the speed of response obviously is not helped by the fact that we don't have within the middle belt of the country a base. We have a tactical command in Bui, but it has no aircraft. So this is something else that I also mentioned.
Right. And there's been concerns about the investigation. Even though information is quite limited, would you also agree that there should be an independent investigation into this aside the army?
Well, first of all, there should be a commitment to publish the terms of reference and the scope of the investigation clearly. Because, attempts for myself to get a clear view of what are the terms of reference for this investigative board that has been set up have not been answered. We don't even know the members of the investigative board. It's supposed to be an interagency investigation, but there's very little knowledge that we have there. Secondly, we also have to remember that at this point, a lot of the debris and the wreckage is gone. It's been dispersed. But widely, some of it have been taken by individuals, being heavily tampered with as well. So we are very reliant on what we often call the black box, the cockpit voice recorder and the flight data recorder. Now, we've been doing a lot of reviews and analysis, using a lot of investigations in Ghana and elsewhere to try and constitute our theory of the problem. And one of the discoveries that we've made is that you were talking about the Volta River aviation aircraft that had an emergency landing. I don't know whether you are aware that in 2014, we had a crash involving the same airline, Volta River Aviation. And in that crash in May 2014, when the black box was taken to Paris for evaluation, I think it was taken to BEA, which is a famous laboratory that does these things. And the evaluation was done. It was found out that for some reason, there was a malfunction and the latest flight data parameters were not captured on the device.
All right. Okay.
So even though we've been told that we've found the black boxes, that does not provide us with 100% assurance that we have all the data we need for the investigation, given incidents elsewhere in Ghana where the black box does not have the full data. So you often need multiple shall I say,
briefly, Mr. Simmons,
source of data to do this, which is why the contamination of the site is such a problem.
All right. Grateful for your time this afternoon. That's Bright Simmons, Vice President of Imani Africa. Well, this afternoon, the Ashanti Regional Security Council has intensified efforts to recover all parts of the military helicopter wreckage amid reports that some components may have been taken by unknown persons. On Friday, a resident returned a watch picked from the crash site. Shortly after President Mahama inaugurated a committee to investigate the incident, the council appealed to anyone who may have taken items from the wreckage to return them in exchange of a reward, warning that keeping such items will be treated as a criminal offense starting today. And Fred Smith, our editor, is in studio with me to share details of that letter with us. Fred.
Well, Maame, that appeal was 2 days ago. Today, the minister has updated his communication, and he says he's thanking the community youth. Significant parts of the craft and other belongings have been returned, and they are still expecting more by the close of today.
Thank you, Fred Smith. Well, in Andanse, Brofuyedu, the community closest to the crash site, residents have expressed strong dissatisfaction over what it describes as derogatory public remarks, including terms like villagers and thieves, directed at the youth and farmers who selflessly assisted in the recovery and evacuation efforts. Chairman of the Media Coalition for Development in Andanse, Robert Anoche Jainthi, shared these concerns in an interview with Joy News.
The resultant commentary surrounding how the people rallied and also help in evacuating those bodies. And the kind of comment being run by people who are remote from the other scene, and the kind of commentary and description being offered around the issue is quite disheartening. Some even describing the town folks in quote as villagers, some also labeling them as thieves. It is quite unfortunate, and I think as a country, looking at what unfolded, what happened, and looking at the kind of response that these untrained people offered to the state, if we can't praise them, I don't think it is appropriate also to use certain words in describing their efforts.
Well, a Volta River Aviation helicopter with registration number 9GAFW was forced to make an emergency landing at Nkoko earlier today. The helicopter, which was en route to Kumasi from Accra, forced it to land due to harsh weather conditions that made visibility difficult. The incident has drawn significant attention. We'll definitely follow up on that to give our listeners more details. Now, pressure is mounting on government to take decisive action against illegal mining as the most fitting tribute to the fallen gallant soldiers as well as the government officials. The Wednesday's crash claimed 8 people, including 2 cabinet ministers, who died. Speaking on Newsfile on Saturday, former ambassador to the Netherlands, Dr. Tony Adu, urged President John Mahama to honor the victims who lost their lives in the line of duty while traveling to launch a government initiative to combat the menace.
I'm not here to eulogize, no, to pay an apologetic tribute. I must say that mine will be a very tiny voice among the worldwide tributes, lamentations, and eulogies that have come following this avoidable, and I say avoidable, national tragedy. Even though we paid with death, and I believe that it cuts across all cultures that you must eulogize the dead, we must look behind and look for the cause. Why did they die? This is, to me, the most important. Why did they die? People say, oh, the Lord gave us, the Lord took.
He has a bit of expertise.
I say that God did not take. It was we who gave.
Well, Dr. Edu further stated that the accident was avoidable, and if the president doesn't end illegal mining, it will kill his people.
President Mahama must kill the Galamsey or it kills weapons. We must, this God give. God will not take innocent lives. People die with their body struck, or by lifestyle, or by don't the blame always fall, especially on such boys death. What is President Mahama way? Why the castigation? People say impose an emergency executive order. Yesterday I heard campaigning we must ban Galamsey 3 months. In fact, Thompson, my first reaction after the chief of staff gave us the details and confirmed the death was to send a message direct to President Mahama. And I said, these 8 patriotic souls lost their lives in the fight against Galamsey. So for God's sake, Mr. President, don't let them die in vain. Stop the Galamsey now.
Well, let's take you back to the investigation where Interior Minister Muntaka Mubarak has been given updates.
Well, one of the things that I will tell you, telling the security area, we don't want to put the cart before the horse. All I can assure you is that the Armed Forces Council, which I'm a member together with Dr. Maame, met on Friday, and we have set the ball rolling. All we will ask on Ghanaians is to be patient. We can assure them that the President, the Armed Forces Council was chaired by the Vice President, all the members of the Armed Forces Council, including the Foreign Minister, we have made it clear to the committee that speed and time is of great essence.
And you heard the Interior Minister, Muntaka Mubarak. You're still listening to the Midday News here on Joy 99.7 FM. We'll quickly take a break. We'll return with sports, and also we'll tell you how are you dealing with the loss of the 8 who died last week in the crash.
It's a difficult thing to accept, but the only one who can give and take is the Almighty.
I just can't describe the mood in which I was. This is the second tragedy we have had within 2 months.
We'll also share with you how you can receive some assistance.
It's very sad. But then nobody will have control over accidents. Okay, things happen. As time goes on, we are able to get back to ourselves and move on because there is nothing we can actually do when it is about it.
When budgets are tight and money difficult to come by, you want to be sure you get the best value for your money. These are not times to be spending money fixing expensive engine problems because of cheap fuel and lubricants. Drive to a petrol source station today and buy your quality fuel and lubricants, and rest assured of fuel that lasts long and lubricants that prevent expensive engine problems. Hear the sound. Petrosol, clean fuel in full quantity.
When I wake up in the morning, I brush my teeth with Kale Charcoal toothpaste. This gives me confidence all day.
Anytime you meet Amma, don't be surprised I smile showing my beautiful white teeth because I don't have cavity thanks to Kale Charcoal toothpaste for its natural charcoal properties. In fact, we are like twins. I can't go without my Kale Charcoal toothpaste.
That be why I dey use Kale Charcoal toothpaste morning and night when I dey go bed safe. It dey make my teeth white when it dey comot every scent from my mouth inside. My confidence level they go up, so I dey show my 32 teeth all.
Introducing the Kale Charcoal toothpaste, formulated with activated bamboo charcoal powder, ensures whiter teeth and removes bad breath. The strong natural property of the activated bamboo charcoal removes bacteria, absorbs surface stains on our teeth caused by coffee, wines, and tobacco. Welcome, Kale Charcoal toothpaste. Kale Charcoal toothpaste, Sankofa Yenchi.
Kale, happy smile.
This advert is FDA approved.
After 9 electrifying seasons, Big Brother Naija is back for season 10 with 10 times the drama, 10 times the rivalry, 10 times the game. This is certified. No zero, no minus. Stream every twist and turn on Showmax. Binge all the action, every surprise, anytime, anywhere. Sign up now at showmax.com. Your front row seat to Big Brother Naija season 10. Showmax, streaming for Ghana.
Welcome back to the Midday News. We have sports with Achu.
Ghana's 100-meter record holder Abdurrashid Saminu is set for a showdown with the world's fastest man this year. That's Thompson, and that's going to happen at the Hungarian Athletics Grand Prix in Budapest. Saminu has already clocked 9.84 seconds, and he did that earlier this year to rank 7th globally, and he will face a stacked field that also features Africa's fastest man in history, Ferdinand Omanyala, South Africa's Akani Simbini, and American sprinter Ronnie Baker. The high-profile sprint is scheduled for tomorrow.
Thank you very much, Achu. Now, families and colleagues of the 8 victims of last Wednesday crash continue to mourn, joined by many Ghanaians deeply affected by the tragedy. One mother shared on Facebook that her daughter no longer wants to be a pilot, sparking similar stories and advice from experts on helping children cope. In the Ashanti Region, Regional Minister Dr. Frank Amoakohene says counselors and psychologists are available at the Komfo-Anokye Teaching Hospital to support those impacted. The Mental Health Authority is urging anyone struggling with grief to seek help.
Hello.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning. Please, my name is Judora, speaking from the Mental Health Authority. May I know your name and the reason you're calling, please?
I am Anne. I called because as a result of the incident that happened last week, Wednesday. I don't know any of the members, but I've been quite disturbed as a result. And looks like I can't think of any other thing.
So sorry about what you're going through. And it's sad. In life, like, a lot of things do happen. Most of them we can't really control. And did you watch the videos?
You know, when the incident happened, the visuals were splashed everywhere. So unconsciously, you just click to download. Immediately you see it, you definitely don't want to see it again. But it's already registered in your mind.
Oh, okay. So is there something you really love to do that can make you, like, sometimes there are certain words we don't want to hear, there are certain pictures we don't want to even see, but as we go on social media each and every day, you might stumble upon one, but then when you see it, immediately you just have to swipe it away so that you don't keep looking at it. And which part of Accra are you?
Kokomlemle.
Is it okay if you go and see a psychologist at the Accra Psychiatric Hospital?
Okay.
When you go there, you go to the OPD, and the nurse will take you to the psychology unit. Then you see a psychologist.
All right, so what you just heard is the test of the system by Joy News, a colleague of mine, called the Mental Health Authority, seeking help for psychological, trauma, especially for those who are going through or struggling with grief after the 8 crashed to their death. Now, moving on, the Deputy Lands and Natural Resources Minister, Yusuf Sulemana, has revealed that the late Environment Minister was working on the repeal of LI 2462, the legislation that allows mining in forest reserves, before his death, together with 7 others, in a last week's helicopter crash. In an interview with Joy News, he said the Lands and Natural Resources Minister, Emmanuel Amakofibwa, who now has oversight of the ministry, will review where the late minister left off and continue to work. We'll hear from him in a moment, but first, President Maame has spoken of his personal ties with the late Environment Minister and the Deputy National Security Coordinator, saying he mentored Dr. Murtala Mohammed when he was a new MP, while Alhaji Lumina Muniru was a frequent visitor to his home. Maxwell Agbagba reports.
It's a somber atmosphere here at the Bema Camp Military Cemetery. Each face tells a story of grief, sorrow, and heartbreak. Family, friends, and loved ones, including President John Mahama, have gathered to bid a final farewell to the 2 men. The preacher seeking to comfort the distressed crowd, reminding them that the 2 men lost their lives in a burning incident and that they died as martyrs.
They die by burning, but to us, indeed, it's a painful death. But in the sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it's a blessing. The person who dies by burning or who dies in fire is a martyr. It raises the rank of the believer to the highest place in paradise.
In a brief tribute, President Mahama reflected on his personal relationship with the late Environment Minister, Dr. Murtala Mohammed, saying he had mentored him over the years.
The 2 brothers, Muniru and Murtala, were both personally close to me. Murtala, I mentored from when he was a new MP at Nantong, and he had been a devout member of our team, one of our very bright intellectuals. Muniru was like a younger brother. He was a permanent fixture in my house and acted almost like my personal assistant. I sent him on errands. And so this is a very deep personal loss for me.
We can now hear from the Deputy Lands and Natural Resources Minister, Yusuf Sulemana, who says the late Environment Minister's work to repeal LI 2642 will be continued.
We can only put ourselves together as a country and fight this menace called Galamsey. And we have said, look, we are not saying that people should not mine, but we want you to mine responsibly. And so going forward, the policies that government is putting in place, we will have to ensure that those policies are implemented. If we do that and we are able to reduce this menace, we would have been, as it were, serving these heroes who have passed a good service, because that is what they've died for. And so that's why we should be focusing on.
Just on that assertion, there are those who say that these 8 persons have paid the ultimate price for Galamsey. And they're saying that the biggest tributes that this government can give to them is to, 1, repeal LI. I spoke to Nilante Vanderpoel, who is the CEO of DRIP, and he said, in his own words, let's finish the Galamsey. Going forward, are we going to see a major clampdown or crackdown on illegal miners or galamseyers? Are we going to see a shift in terms of the fight?
And so it's in three phases. One, those who are in our forest reserves, it's a no-go area, and government will flush all of them out. And that's what we are doing. Two, those who are on our water bodies, we are not going to spare them. And I can tell you, very soon, there will be a documentary for you to see the impact of the Blue Water initiative, guard initiative that we are doing. I have the videos and photos here. They go into the rivers, they sack people, they burn their chamfans and all of that. That will continue.
So are we going to see LI 2462 repealed?
Indeed, Honorable Murtala was working to get it repealed because it falls under his ministry. Okay, so I believe that my minister, who is the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, has been asked to have an oversight responsibility over that ministry.
Anyway, the Deputy Environment Minister Yusuf Suleimana in an interview with my colleague Maxwell Agbagba on the LI 2462, bringing us to the end of the midday news. But before then, there have been a series of vigils ongoing in various regions for the eight that have lost their lives. Also in Techiman, there was also one in Ho in the Volta region. Well, that's all for the midday news. I am Nyamekye Thompson. Up next is Living Word with Pastor Mensa Otabil.